Hello and welcome back to our how to make a board game on Unreal Engine tutorial. Today is part 4, but I'm going to do it in 2 parts. And this part is going to be basically solely in Blender. So if you're familiar with Blender and you want to make all your own assets, feel free to skip this and we'll pick it up in part 2, which will be actually bringing units into the engine and going from there. But in this one, I'm just going to show you how I made these units. It'll be pretty quick, but if you're brand new to Blender, just so you can at least make something. And we'll have to make one more asset in Blender. You can do whatever you want for it. I just like this circle, and this will be a movement indicator too. So it'll populate on adjacent tiles. Let me bring this up. So I'll just kind of show you guys how to make that, and then we'll pick up part 2 and get back into the engine. The first thing, and I'll link this into the description, but FreePick, it's a nice place just to kind of grab textures. For me, on my little pieces, whoa, they kind of have a, let's zoom this in a little bit, like kind of a stained wood look. And I got one of those textures from here. So completely free. You filter on free. I just searched wood. And if you like this one, you can download it. And because it's free, you just have to do, a credit this website. So you can just copy this link. You can see, or in the credit section. So when I actually launch my game, I'll have a credit section and I'll be sure to reference this website there. But a lot of great assets for one of my 3D arena fighter games I'm making, getting like metallic looks for armor and things. It's a good website. So, but if you want some sort of look like this, that's where you can get it. So I'm gonna have a couple different units in my game, but I'm just gonna show you how to make kind of this base setup, and it's super simple. I don't even know, 12 different shapes maybe I'll join together, and then you can kind of manipulate them on your own if you want this. And I'll show you how to make a sword, and we can kind of go from there. So let's get into it. The first thing I want to do is I want to make this, kind of little tile stand piece. So I'm going to do Shift A, mesh a cube, and we'll scale this way down. And another thing too that's important to think about it, I'm going to bring in one of my tiles just for helping set the scale. So for me, I don't want more than 3, or there can't be more than 3 units on a tile at a specific time. And actually, I'm going to bring this one in, the keep. So one of the things to start to think about is, whoops, where do you want your units to be on a tile when they spawn in? So I'll probably do like something like this. I don't know, maybe this and this, or like this maybe. So we'll do that in engine, but this will help at least set the scale. So I think this width is probably fine. And actually my example one is a little bit bigger, so we'll do that. We'll come back to the front, and obviously we don't need this much height, so if you do SZ, scale this down, GZ, bring this up, and I might go just a little bit thinner. So SZ again, and GZ to move it down. I'll get it to just overlap a little bit with the tile. And then I kind of like the, it's rotated a little bit, so I'll do RZ, and then type in 45 degrees, and we'll do something like that. And I'm going to bring this actually to 0, and this to 0, and now let's move this back up. Actually, no, we're going to leave that at 0. Let's kick this back. Okay. So I think this looks pretty good. Oh, one more thing. I want this right, let's see if this works. Yeah, flush with the x-axis. So perfect. And we'll just call this tile or unit base tutorial. Okay, and the other thing we're going to do now is we're going to make a material, and we'll just call this unit color. And let me remember, I'm going to download one of these with you guys just so I can show you I can import this. So I don't know, let's see what something like this looks like. free download. Yeah, and after you download it again, so what I do for credits, which I find to be easiest, is I just keep them in a Word document, and I'll put the link to the website. A lot of different websites have something like where you can just copy this, and then a little short description for myself, and then I'll actually just build a credits widget in my game off the main menu, and that should meet all of the accreditation requirements. Okay, so with your new material, you come down to base color, you click this yellow dot, and then image texture. I think it's open. Yeah, go to open, downloads, and yep, this guy, open. So now you can see that's in there. And then within Engine, we'll bring this material in, and we'll create a master class for it. And then we can apply different tints. So if you want blue, green, red, yellow as team colors, it'll just go over this texture so you can still kind of have this look. Okay, next we're going to make kind of this base shape little unit here. So again, I'm going to do Shift A, and we're going to make a cube. And I'm going to do SY to kind of scale this in quite a bit. SX, bring this in, and then SZ, and we're going to come to this view. And so one thing to think about too, right, I have this keep as my reference. So just kind of think in Engine, how tall do you want those units? I for sure want them taller than these trees, right? So when you're looking across the map, they stand out. So I obviously have already done that, but you might just kind of pull in some of your other assets just so you have a reference for the height. So let's grab this, gonna bring this up a little bit. And this will just be the torso, so we'll add the head. So I think I can bring this down just a little bit. And then GZ, and again, just kind of overlap into the tile a little bit. I think that's a little bit too thick. So SY, do something like that, and SX, make it maybe a little bit smaller. And obviously, you can get more detail. As you can see, maybe here in the background, I try to make something a little bit more sophisticated, and was trying to make an armature, but I don't know. I'm not very good at animations, honestly, and I kind of thought these actually looked pretty good, so I'm keeping it simple. And let's make sure this is all kind of completely centered, which this is out of whack. Bring that to 0, and that looks pretty good. Okay. And I might actually just take this down. No, I think it'll be okay. Okay, so now kind of our base shape, which is good. And I'm going to do Control A. Yeah, Control A. All transforms. I'm going to do the same for this too. So that just sets all these scale, rotation, location to 0. Now we're going to add a modifier. So click this, and we will do mirror. And I think the x-axis is what we want. Yeah. Actually, before that, let's do the head quick. Okay, so select your object, hit tab, go in edit mode. And what I want to do here is I want to make actually, we're going to do head last. Sorry, going all over the place, but I think this will be easier. So back to mirror, x-axis, come here. So what I kind of want to make is, just a little arm, so a little shoulder coming off. We'll hit what are these, traps, I think is the muscle. We'll hit this at the end after we get the arms, but we'll bring the shoulders out. So if you do Control R, this brings in a loop cut. So click once and kind of drag this to, how wide you want your arm to be. So do something like that. And then we're going to go to face selection. Click this, and with our mirror, this should work. So you hit E, you extrude. Yeah, and now we can see this coming out. So think through kind of how wide you want it. I don't want it going over the edge, so I might just bring this in just a little bit. And if you're getting something weird like this, you can press the axis you want it to be tied to. So for me, right, this red line is X. So I'm going to hit G and then X, and that locks in place. So even though I move my cursor up and down, that keeps that locked. So we'll do something like that. And then I'm going to come below it. I'm really just going to kind of copy this model. I'm going to hit E again, and then I already have Z, you can see with the blue line, but if it's going all over the place again like this, I just press Z to kind of lock it up and down. I'm just going to try to get this to pretty similar, maybe a little bit smaller as the shoulder. And then again, we'll select this face and E and kind of pull this out like this. All right, so we kind of got a little bit of a look. And if you want something where you kind of have hands like this, and you can rotate them, what I would recommend doing is you want to keep this kind of base shape, or at least I do. So I'm going to do E, Y again, and just create just a little nub here. And now I can rotate this, you know, however I might want, you know, RY, right? Something like this. And then you can kind of put a asset in. And once you take the mirror off, you can do these individually. We'll kind of leave this flat, and this will be act as our hands, basically. So all pretty simple, but I think it works. So I think that's all we need for the mirror. So let's go back to object mode, and just by pressing tab and then apply that mirror. And now let's do our head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this face, E, and we already have our Z selected. And with this selected, come into this top view, and I'm going to do S for scale, X, and just bring this in a little bit to kind of what I'd want the size of the neck and head to be. So I think we'll plan something like that. And then EZ, or Z, lock that in, boom. There's a little head, some shoulders. Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. And from here, I wonder why our material, oh, and then we're just going to create a new material. And let's find our, what do we call that? Unit color tutorial, isn't it? That's what I call it. Unit color tutorial. I think I can copy this. Unit color 001. Yeah, there we go. And this looks like crap, but we're gonna fix it. So go into edit mode, Control A to get everything highlighted, and then come into UV editing and do Smart UV unpack. And so that sets, the way UVs work is it's basically how do these faces look over a image. That's really all it is. So by selecting all of it, it kind of figures out how to print it or map it all across this. But maybe you want to do something where it's a little bit more detailed. So I'm going to select my front, and we're going to unwrap that. Right, so let me grab this again. I'll show you how this works. So you can kind of start to see it's a little jacked up, but right here's the head, here are the shoulders, the arms are kind of flip-flopped. I'm going to do RX 180, just kind of get in this vertical view, and right, you can kind of move it around, and where it's going over is where the texture will be. But you can make this a lot bigger, right? So if you want to do something like this and have it covering, so basically this image will repeat in the blanks. So even though it's just showing an image here, it's really kind of going on infinitely around this. So this part here that doesn't have anything, it's really kind of hitting the bottom and then scaling up. So that's how you can kind of play around with UVs. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but that's how you do that. And one weird thing, I think our mirror kind of screwed things up. Let me see. Right, if you're kind of getting how this is flashing, and I know what I did. Sorry about this. All right, let's go way back. Let's see if we can catch it. So what I forgot to do is within your modifiers, when you make a mirror, I should have enabled clipping, but I didn't. And so really kind of what happened here is we have these duplicates. So big error on my part, pretty easy to fix. So select faces and do delete face, and you can see there's faces behind it. Basically it duplicated it because, and that one didn't. Okay, I think it's just the middle. Let's see if the back is kind of weird. Very clean video by me. But all of this is, I don't know, you make mistakes, is what it is. So I'm just deleting these faces. If it goes through, it's good. Okay, and then we got to remake these faces. So to do that, I'm going into the vertex mode. I'm just selecting these front ones. Now press F. And now I want one here. Press F. And now we shouldn't have any weird. Just make sure like the hands are good. Yeah. Okay, so now back into our UV editor. And let's smart unpack this. So play around with this however you want. But I think this looks decent enough for the tutorial purposes. It looks like the sides might be a little screwy still. Let's see. Yep. And the side. Okay. And really, you can kind of just look at it if anything's like flashing at you weird. That's good. Then there's a duplicate. Okay. So we're all set. And within Engine, we'll actually put the colors on it. So kind of have this base pond now. And from here, you can kind of manipulate the models like I did. So I have this guy, and I just kind of extended those arms in a little bit, make him look like he's holding a sword. This guy just rotated his hand for a little sword. So this is my swordsman, my footman, my spearman. I'll be bringing in some other assets or units later too. Want to make like a horseman, but this is what I got for now. And then we'll just make a quick sword, just so I can see you guys how to do that. And then, yeah, sky's the limit for whatever you guys want to create. But for a sword, again, I'm going to do another cube. And we want this to be really thin, like a sword. So scale this in. I think something like that for the base of the blade, maybe a little bit thinner. Okay, we'll go into edit mode. I'm going to grab this E and simply going to scale it in. And I might just do one more up and scale this in really tight. And I think, maybe SY, just make this even a little bit thinner. All right, so there's just a quick looking blade. If you want to make it even a little bit better, can bring this into middle, and we can apply mirror X and grab this face and SY just to kind of make this a little bit thinner. Why didn't that kind of do what I wanted? Actually, let's delete the mirror. Oh, whatever. SX, or SY. There. So yeah, you can just kind of bring these edges in, make it look a little bit thinner. This side to do SY. So you kind of play around with that, but we got the base shape. And then want to make the handle. So again, I'll do SA, bring in a cube, scale this way down. Actually, I might just extrude off this. It might be easier. So before we do that, let's make a material. Let's just call this sword tutorial. And we'll give that a nice kind of gray color. And we'll actually manipulate our materials in Engine, which is for something for editing purposes. So off of this face, I'm going to extrude this down, and this will kind of be that guard. I do want to use a mirror for this part. Where did you go? Mirror X, enable clipping. That should solve the issue we had earlier. And real quick before I continue, you know what? I guess I don't know. Maybe I don't understand mirrors well enough. It keeps duplicating, so I'll show you guys how to do it without it. Okay, but let's select all of these faces quick. And with those selected, let's create a new material and sword handle tutorial. We'll make this like gold and assign there. Now we should have some different colors. So I'm going to grab this and we will extrude this out and make this minus 2.6. So what I'm going to do here is E again, and then make this 2.6. So now these are the same scale. And then I'm going to grab both of these faces and SZ. Gonna make a nice looking handle. I'm even doing SY, just kind of pitch it in a little bit. Okay, and we can come off here, E, and start to actually make our handle a little bit. I'm gonna scale this. SX, bring this in. E for the handle. And one thing to kind of think about with the handle is I'm going to bring this kind of into the hand. So, you know, if I want guard would be kind of up here, then I need my handle obviously to go all the way through. So grab this and I'll just GZ this all the way down. Something like that. So this is kind of a one-handed blade. Right, for my two-handed blade, right, have a longer handle that would fit both hands. Oops. And then I'm going to do, with this bottom face selected, E again, and we can get rid of the overlap. And then I can just kind of scale this up and bring this a little bit higher. And then E again, S, there, something like that. So it's quick, easy, low poly, obviously sword, but I think it fits the cosmetic we're going for. So spear, kind of same way with a spear. I just did a cylinder, and when you make it, there's the vertexes. So this is how many edges are around this circle. I'm just going to go 16 because it doesn't need to be, I might even go 8 because it's going to be so thin. Basically, the more vertexes you have, the more detailed something is, and potentially it could become more costly to actually generate the material and texture in game. For this spear, that's just going to be so thin. I don't need 64 different edges, right? Kind of look at it now with 8, and from distance, it looks fine. So no need to have a ton of different vertexes there. So make a nice low poly, should be super cost efficient. And with this, I'm just gonna have the bottom of the spear kind of go into the tile a little bit, hold it up. I might even scale this a little bit thinner, but SZ, bring it out like that. And for this, you can create another material like spear, tutorial, shaft, this brown or orange or whatever, and then go in edit mode, grab this face, extrude it, scale it way in, and I'm going to grab all of these faces quick. Create a new material, and we'll grab our sword tutorial and assign it. And then we'll just grab this top face, extrude it again, and scale it in. We come out, you know, we have a spear. And I don't know, we could do something like, I think, we can do a loop cut in here. Put this here and then kind of scale that out. And then grab this edge and this edge. Just make this a little bit more pronounced, and this edge kind of comes out. I'm selecting edges with Control or Alt, to select the whole edge. So could even make this a little bit more round. So you gotta play around with that, but I think this looks decent enough for our purposes. And then shield, I just did a cylinder again and RX 45, no, RX 90. And this one, I might actually, let's redo this again, because this one I do want a little bit more. Instead of 8, maybe, yeah, we'll go 16. RX, whoops, RX 90. Scale that in. Yeah, I think that's a decent size, maybe a little bit thinner. And then what I'm going to do for this, so you can kind of see with mine, I have a couple different material slots. So like an edge, it's kind of wood, and then the middle. So if you want something like that, we're come in, we're actually going to delete these faces. So come to face select, and just select this front one, delete, delete. So here's the edge of it. And we will control to select this edge and shift, not control, alt click, select that whole edge, and then shift alt click to get the back. And so then what I'm going to do here is extrude it and right click to bring it right back. And I'm just going to scale this in. So this will kind of be like the outline color. Then again, extrude, right click, scale this in for the kind of wood color. Then we have this open center, and I'll come back into my vertex, and these are selected. Press F. Now we should have some things we can manipulate. So now let's come into our face select. Just kind of select all of these. So for this, I might want this to kind of be more of a metallic look. So for now, I'm just going to put it under sword tutorial and assign it. And then these, I want to be more of the, the kind of wood look. So I add a new material. And I think, what was that? Unit color, assign. And then for this, assign this. And then we'll have to UV unwrap this. I think I'll make this just a lot bigger. See how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks all right. And then we can make these kind of more, the center and the edge more metallic in engine. And you can do that with the pack too, if you care. So yeah, here's just some kind of basic models, and you might want to play around with these UVs a little bit to make it look a little bit better, but I'm just trying to show you guys how to do it. And maybe with this sword too, you want to do RZ 45 and just kind of holding it at an angle. Yeah, and so then kind of what I do is just duplicated the meshes, and so if this is kind of our base, I'm just going to shift D, bring this out. Then if I want this guy to kind of be our, maybe a sword and shield, bring this in. Could make a little handle on the back too, but I don't think it's necessary. So this kind of starts to clip in. And now this is kind of what I was telling you with the hand. So RY, right? Can kind of pitch this in. And I'm going to, before I do anything with this, there's that rotation, zero this out quick, and Control apply all those transforms. I'm going to Shift D, just make a duplicate of it. And then with this one, I kind of want it to, rotate in. Okay, so when you're rotating things, if it's kind of doing something weird, its origin hasn't been set. So just right click on it and set origin to center mass. And now the origin is here. So now when we rotate it, rotate around the center. And we can just kind of pull that in here and drag it in a little bit. And now he's holding a sword, and I think it looks cool enough. Cool. So then from there, if you want to bring this guy in, we're going to bring the base in as its own. So do file, export, FBX. Actually, I don't know if did we UV unwrap this? Let's just check. There. I'm just going to scale this up a little bit. Come back in and object mode, file, export, FBX. And I called mine pawn base tile. So whatever you want to call it, but it's just kind of the base. Selected objects only. And under geometry, make sure you're smoothing on face. Then you can export that. And then for the unit, all right, so if I want this to all come in as it is, select my unit, my sword, my shield, file, export, FBX. And I will bring this in just to show you how to import it, but pawn tutorial, swordman, selected objects only, and geometry, make sure we're on face, export. Okay, and before we go into the engine, I just want to make one more thing, or show you guys how to make one more thing. So let's move all of this out of the way. So I'm going to bring this into the center. So this, let me just kind of show this, what I'm making. So when you are selecting a unit, I want a visual indication of where you can move to. So that's what this is. So circle pops up, kind of moves around so you can see all of the adjacent tiles and then move there. So I just want to make that visual indicator. For me, it's really just a sphere with the faces cut off. So Shift A, mesh, sphere. This one might go a little bit bigger, maybe 32. And then for scale, I want this to be something like that. And again, like, think about how you want it in game. Well, the material we use is what will create this kind of up and down effect. So your scale height isn't too important, but I'm just going to do something that I think is kind of flush with the trees. Let's bring this down. And kind of right at the X. PC. I even bring it a little bit down more. Yeah, that'll be good. And then we'll have it when it bounces in game. It'll kind of go down to probably like here-ish and up to here. I think it'll look good. And go in edit mode, and we can delete face, and delete face, and just create a material for it. And we can just call it adjacent tile indicator, something like that. And then grab this, file, export, FBX, select it only, and call it whatever you want. I did adjacent tile indicator circle. I'm going to delete that because I have one. Cool. That, I think, is all we're going to do for this tutorial. So, oh, actually, I will show you how to import it in. So, right-click, import to game, and where do board game assets? Where are my details? So here's the pawn tutorial. It's going to be a static mesh. So don't click that. I don't even think I have to change. Oh, there's one thing that needs to be changed. Where is it? It's like combined meshes. Yeah, all right, combined meshes. So this one's important. So because we're exporting this as, it's the pawn, the sword, and the shield, it's really 3 meshes, but I want them all to come in as one. So if you don't have this selected, you import all, right, you're going to have 3 different meshes, obviously. So let's delete all that. I want to import and grab this. And when we do combined meshes, boom, now we have one singular. And I think he's facing backwards. We can adjust in the blueprint if we need to, or why did it do that? Or you do something like this. So come to your details, transform, import rotation, 180, and then you can have them facing straight. Cool. So in the next video, we'll make the materials and actually get our units in game, and then we'll kind of work on unit movement and attacks and everything else from there. Thanks for watching.